Hello, Squirrel Tribe, ST Talks. How's everybody doing today? Listen, you guys may have heard of what's going on in the panhandle here, not just here in Florida, Alabama panhandle, Texas panhandle, whoever else might have a panhandle along the southern coast. And that would be the ICE roundups, the illegal immigrant roundups that have been going on. I saw a post about it a couple days ago, and they said they had arrested or taken into custody over 200 individuals. And then I saw a personal post on Facebook in one of the groups that I am on Facebook for where I live. And this woman posted up a picture of her kids' high school graduating class and said that one of the kids that graduated from her son's high school, who's just 18, was just picked up by ICE on his way to work, right? And she's talking about how it's not fair that he's been picked up. He's not somebody who's committed any crimes. He hasn't done anything wrong. You know, he's a great kid. He goes to one of those STEAM schools, or STEM school, whatever it's called, the science, technology, engineering, math. I feel like there's something I'm missing there. I'm not quite sure. Y'all can fill me in the comment section of whatever I missed there. But she's talking about how he's a great kid, and for ICE to pick him up makes no sense, because why are they going after regular people instead of the criminals, the ones who have done wrong things? And my brain is going, well, technically, if you're here illegally, that is a crime in and of itself. But then on the flip side, you go, well, he's a kid. His parents came here illegally. It's not something he had any control over. So should he really be deported, right? And it's one of those situations where it's a very difficult one for a lot of people to jump on board with the mass roundup or culling of people that look a certain way to then, ship them off somewhere. And that on the other hand, a lot of people are like, no, I'm fully okay with it. That's what I voted for, whatever else. It kind of sort of depends on where you are. I think most of the times on the political spectrum. But if you're down in the middle, I think for more people, it is a right versus wrong to do this to people who are hardworking and trying to provide for their families and things like that. Then I see this TikTok of this girl, this woman, who says that she and her family self-deported. Now, she is an American citizen. She's born here. She's a white female, whatever. She's married to somebody from Mexico who was here illegally. They have kids, whatever else. And they decided to self-deport. That way they could, in theory, do the paperwork to get back into the United States legally. And of course, my brain always goes, well, why didn't you just start the legal process while you're here? But there's no promise that if you've started the legal process that they're going to let you stay just because you started it. They could still kick you out. It's going to be different everywhere you look, or depending on the city, the county, the state, the individual, possibly. So I saw that and I was like, okay, well, you have some self-deporting, you have some that are being picked up by ICE. I've noticed where I live, there has been a massive police presence the last couple weeks. And I'm thinking to myself, what is going on? Is it because school's back in? Or is there like a somebody on the loose? And then I realized it's because of that panhandle roundup or whatever they called it. And this post that I saw, the whole reason for this video, this post that I saw, somebody said, well, good luck going to the restaurant you like, because guess who's cooking all the food? Good luck getting your landscaping done. Guess who's cutting your grass? Good luck doing this, this, and this. And the comment section, one side was saying, and you can guess which side. One side was going, good, you know what, it's fine. Now there's more jobs for citizens and for the men and women who are legally here, and that's fine. And the other side that was complaining that now they're not going to have their grass cut, they're not going to have their food cooked, they're not going to whatever. And I don't know why. It was like an effing light bulb went off in my head. And I don't like, okay, let's back up here. I had somebody leave me a comment a couple days ago that said they used to watch me here all the time before I went political. And once I went political, I got mean. And so they stopped watching me. And I was like, that's bullshit. And then I stopped and thought about it. I was like, no, that's actually pretty accurate. I have felt that I have gotten mean when talking about certain things. I use the word libtard a lot. And I'm like, that is mean. I understand that's mean. And so in case you haven't noticed, I have tried to kind of sort of step back from the political spectrum just so I'm not as much of a raging asshole as I have been from, about this time last year till now, because I do let things affect me in such an emotional way that I don't use the correct words to some people, and I speak a little more emotionally than I would have on other topics, and I throw names around that I wouldn't generally do. I would not walk up to some random person and see them and knowing them or knowing that they are, still go, oh, you're a libtard. I wouldn't do that to somebody because I'm not an ass, right? Generally speaking. But that person left the comment, and I was like, okay, I can understand how you feel that way. Let me try to scale back my meanness, because I can fully see where that's coming from. That I had to really look inside and go, no, they're not wrong. You know, I was this close to being like, oh, man, hide this bitch from the channel. And I was like, nope, look what you just did. You called her a name. I assume it was her. You called her a name because you got emotionally triggered because she was right. Right? A lot of times when we have these emotional responses, it's because somebody's right and we don't like the way it feels, so we get defensive, whatever. At least I know I do. I have a very high tendency to get defensive. But where was I going with this? The whole point behind, so I realized today while I was reading these comments about the ICE roundup, in my brain, I'm thinking to myself, look at these libtards out here. And I was like, stop doing that. Don't say that. Just say, because it does seem to be Democrat versus Republican and how this is looked at. And you want how they make it seem, and they being Democrats, okay? And this is not me trying to be an ass. This is just, I've realized this as a opinionated fact, because my opinion is mixed into this, but it's very factual if you step back and look at everything that's going on. So my opinionated fact here is the left, the Democrats, have pushed very, very hard to keep illegal immigrants here, but they've said it's a moral thing, that we shouldn't be able to just kick somebody out of our country, even though they are here illegally, especially if they're doing the jobs that, you know, Americans won't do. And it's like, well, Americans were doing them before people came in. So it's not that Americans won't do them. It's that Americans aren't getting the chance to do them because they are being given to people who will take less money, don't need the 401ks, who whatever else can basically be used as slave labor, because what are they going to do? Who are they going to complain to? Because they can't complain to anybody, because then it'll be found out that they're illegal. And then, you know, it goes a puff up in air for them, right? So this is what I have realized. And it's something that I kind of sort of knew the whole time, but it's one of those things where you don't like putting it into words because it makes people sound absolutely awful, right? You have the Republicans who are like, fine, get them out of the country. They don't belong here. You have the Democrats going, no, they need to stay here. And it's because the Democrats want to make sure that they have somebody that's going to cut their grass. They have somebody that's going to cook their food. They have somebody that's going to clean their hotel rooms. They have somebody that's going to do all the work for them that they don't want to do. Whereas Republicans are going, they don't belong here. It doesn't matter if they are doing a job, if they're a landscaper, a cook, a housekeeper, or whatever else. Doesn't matter if they haven't gone out and raped somebody, murdered somebody, grand theft larceny, and, you know, robbed anybody. Doesn't matter. They are here illegally, and that in and of itself is breaking a law. If I were to break a law as a citizen, I would get in trouble. If you're breaking a law as a non-citizen, you should get in trouble. There are consequences to your actions, right? And I think that is the main difference. Republicans are very upfront about what this whole immigration, illegal immigration, ICE raid, everything truly means for the people who are being booted and what it means for the citizens who will then be able to get their jobs back, versus the Democrats who are trying to make people feel like they are doing something wrong by wanting to deport illegal immigrants and using this moral whatever, using your emotions against you, and using this whole, well, you're not going to be able to have this, this, and this anymore, because they are greedy. I mean, that's greed. Is that not greed? Like, if you step back and look at it, what is being done is for the betterment of our country, right? And the Democrats don't want it because it makes their life harder, because then they have to do things for themselves. That's what it really comes down to. I don't fully know how to put it into words so that it sounds the way I hear it in my head. Like I have these conversations in my head all the time. Side note, I read a thing somewhere that said half of people do not self-talk. Like, they don't have conversations in their head. And I'm thinking to myself, what are you doing when you're just like there living? Is it just like whooshing wind sounds up in there? Like, how do you not have self-dialogue? That is so incredibly weird to me, because I do it all day long, which is the problem, because then I'll have this whole entire conversation in my head and then jump out in the middle of the conversation and start talking to somebody. And they're like, ma'am, I have no idea what led up to this. Or I will think I have said something out loud and I never did, because I had the whole conversation up here. That could be medication needed, but I'm not quite sure. Either way, the roundups, the ice roundups, I really truly noticed it today when I looked at my yard and I said, huh, my yard looks like shit. Because we actually have a contractor, landscaper, who comes out once a week and takes care of our yard. They do it throughout the entire neighborhood, and we pay him once a month. And he was here 2 weeks ago, and I gave him a check, and he cashed the check, and we haven't seen him since. We have not seen anybody from his crew. The neighborhood, everybody's grass is looking a little like, did we all forget how to do this kind of stuff? But we haven't had to do it for ourselves, which sounds real privileged. I'm fully aware. We have not had to do it for ourselves because we've had somebody else that could do it. And so now it's like, okay, well, cool. There's a kid down the street who put a flyer in our mailbox forever ago. And he was like, hey, I'll cut your grass for like $10. I'm trying to save up money. All right, kid, here's $10. Do the summer job that people used to do back in the day before we gave it to the illegal immigrants who started up the landscaping businesses. You know, I feel bad that technically I feel like we got taken for our money. But I can also understand the fear of the landscaper who's probably thinking to himself, even if the main guy is legal, half of his crew may not be. And with the way that people are literally being pulled over because they're driving a work van, a construction van, a landscaping van, because they look some type of way. Yes, it's profiling, but it seems like a lot of the times it's accurate profiling. So these people are very scared to go to work, whether it's a landscaper, housekeeper, cook, whatever. And so we went to a restaurant a couple of days ago, and the server was like, hey, we're a little slow today. We don't have the full kitchen staff here. And I didn't even think about it. I was like, oh, it's fine. You know, not a big deal. Thanks for letting us know. We're content to be, patient. Couldn't think of the word. And everything was perfectly fine. Food tasted great. It came out maybe like 2 or 3 minutes later than fully expected. Not a big deal. And I realized people are afraid to go into work because they're worried that the cops are just going to be waiting there to scoop them on up. At the same time, there are a lot of now hiring signs everywhere that we have gone. You know what that means? People who previously could not find a job have a much better chance of finding a job, even if it is as a landscaper, as a housekeeper, as a cook. They are still jobs that pay and keep food on your table and a roof over your head and, whatever else. So things are changing. The tides are turning and whatever else. But I think I can see the downside for a lot of people. I truly can. I'm not a heartless individual. I don't want families ripped apart. I don't want kids picked up by ICE. Because somebody said, what happens when parents are picked up by ICE and their kids are at school and they ride the bus home and there's nobody there to let them in the house? And I fully understand the emotional tug that gives you, especially as a mom. It tugs on your heartstrings and you're like, oh, that's awful. They shouldn't do that to the parents. But then if you step back from the emotional standpoint of it, which is very hard to do, especially when emotion is what's used to really trigger the crap out of people. If you step back from the emotion of it and go, well, legally, this is what happens. If you care about your children, you don't do illegal things that will put them in harm's way. I'm not going to go out and sell crack because it's going to put my child in harm's way and myself. And I don't even know what crack looks like. So, I mean, there's a big hump there I'd have to get over. But there's certain things that as a parent, I will never do because it will put my child in harm's way. I understand why a lot of people are here illegally because of wherever they fled from. But some people are here illegally to milk the shit out of this country. And then the lady that self-deported, I told you about earlier, the American citizen who self-deported with her family, she goes, well, now we don't have a car payment. We don't have a mortgage. We don't have these loans we have to pay back. And, we don't need any money for anything. We're kind of living the good life here. A lot of people have said that, the deportation is awful for them. But I'm looking at it like this. You don't have to pay back all that money that you owe people. You don't have to pay these things. Those are perks for them. That is a downside for us here as these deportations are happening because there's a lot of people who will be left high and dry without getting their money from people that are no longer here or people who have paid into things, i.e. landscapers, that are now not going to show up, but your money's gone. They got your money. You just don't get what you paid for. So there are obviously going to be some pros and cons to this whole entire situation. There is no 100% right or 100% wrong way to look at this whole situation. I hate the fact that there are good men and women and kids who are being deported, being affected by this, being pulled apart. I do hate it because I do have a heart. I will never gleefully clap at people, you know, in tears, screaming and crying and being pulled away, physically pulled away from their spouse or their kids. I'm never going to clap at that. I don't care who they are. It's never going to be something that is joyful to me. But at the same time, unfortunately, actions have consequences, and these are the consequences of said actions. So that is all I had to say. When I really sat back this morning, I had we did this whole video in my head while I was in the shower this morning, just so you know. I had all of it, but it's not like we're going to record then. But I had the whole conversation. I was like, I really realize that the Democrats are pushing this, like the Schumers and the Warrens and the Sanderses of the world are pushing this and as a moral thing. And that, you know, if you are for deportations, that you are a horrific person and Jesus shouldn't love you. That's basically what they're going with. And really it comes down to, they don't want their easy way of life to be taken. Like that's what it comes down to. Who's going to make our beds? Who's going to cook our food? Who's going to cut our grass? That is not like, is that not the most racist shit you've ever heard? Anyway, y'all, it's crazy to me. Side note, our mayor trolled the shit out of Cracker Barrel today on Facebook. He put up a post and said that they were thinking about rebranding the city. And so they used the new Cracker Barrel logo and put, you know, Destin in it or whatever. And it was like, how do you guys like it? And then he goes, nah. And he went back to the old one and he said the best fishing village. And so he put the man with the barrel, but a fishing rod in his hand with the old Cracker Barrel sign, but it said Destin in it. And I thought that was absolutely hilarious. And I was like, see, I like a good troll like that. Anyway, ST Talks, Squirrel Tribe, I love y'all immensely. Thank you for this random ass conversation. We are going to talk about Gavin Newsom and Palisades and the land grab in a little bit. But right now, I got to get out of this parking lot. So I love y'all. Goodbye.